Welcome back to the Stretch the Floor podcast. I'm Matthew, and I'm here as always with Venushan, and it's officially trade season. We haven't gotten any trades yet. Well, that's not true. We did get a blockbuster Pistons and what was it again? Pistons
OKC,
and OKC trade. That's right. But
OKC.
we're getting a lot of huge rumors kind of swirling around. Kyle Lowry's been in the rumors for a while. LaMarcus Aldridge this past week they've announced he's not going to be back with the team. There's just PJ Tucker. There's a million rumors going around right now. We're going to break down all the important ones, the ones that we think are going to happen soon, the ones we want to see happen, all that stuff. What do you think is the biggest or most likely rumor that we've heard in the past couple of weeks?
People that aren't playing: Marcus Aldridge, Andre Drummond, PJ Tucker, someone who's waived like DeMarcus Cousins. All those guys are gonna get onto new teams and have a little impact at least. So that's gonna be huge. And the best player in rumors right now is Vucevic and John Collins. Both of those could have huge impact and cause a championship change.
Yeah, this it feels like this trade deadline could have a huge impact on the championship race. Like LaMarcus Aldridge, let's say he finds his way to Philly or something, or even if he gets bought out. He's probably going to get traded, but if he does get bought out, like if he landed on Milwaukee or Philly or something,
That's
that's yeah, forget it. That would be insane. John Collins, we both want to see him go to Boston, but it seems like Minnesota might be the most likely trade partner now, which is kind of
yeah.
weird. But I don't know. Let's start with Aldridge, I guess. Do you think he gets traded? And there's only a couple teams that could actually trade for him with that $19 million um uh price tag that he has. The Celtics being one of them, I think. There's a few other ones, but if the big ones like Milwaukee and the Nets obviously wanted him, it would have to be a buyout.
Yeah, I think it's basically the Celtics seeing what's around available, and they're gonna just wait on, and then Spurs are just gonna wait on to till the last minute because you could buy him out after the deadline, right? So they're gonna
Yeah.
keep him throughout the whole deadline. They're gonna hope, hey, the Celtics get desperate. Vucevic, the Magic's asking price is too high. All these other guys are going for the asking price is too high, so they're just like, you know what? We'll settle with a Marcus Aldridge. We'll settle with a veteran that could do a little bit of everything, and that's kind of their hope. But unless it's Marcus Aldridge, like I really can't see someone matching that contract. I personally, if he gets bought out, would love to see him go to the Trailblazers. I think they can use him. I think he is an upgrade over Enes Kanter, and I would like to see that reunion happen. But it's trade Celtics is the only team that comes to mind, and
Mm-hmm.
then buyout, it's always going to be the Nets, Trailblazers because they have that familiarity. LeBron's teams always get good veterans, so the Lakers are up there too. And then the Celtics could also get him from a buyout. Like if he gets
Mm-hmm.
bought out, they could also try to sign him as well. So every team's interested in him in a buyout.
Yeah.
Trade wise, kind of just the Celtics.
Yeah. You didn't mention Philly. I think if you did end up on Philly in a buyout, that would just be like crazy. If you could have LaMarcus Aldridge coming off as your sixth man behind like the backup Embiid, kind of manage Embiid's minutes a little bit more, I think that'd be insane. I think that would make them closer to the Nets and probably like make those teams a little bit more even. Because it
Reason
seems like
the reason I don't think that's
yeah,
gonna happen is because if Aldridge goes to the Nets or the Bucks, even he could close those games. Like he could
yeah,
close over Brook Lopez. He could close over DeAndre Jordan. So like if he goes to the Lakers or the Sixers, like you said, he's not gonna close those games. And I think he just would rather close games because then he feels like he has a bigger impact on the championship. Like Blake Griffin said, he's like, hey,
mm-hmm.
when we're closing games, yeah, I might not start, but when we're closing games, I think I have the opportunity to be that closing power forward. And I think LaMarcus Aldridge can be like, hey, I have the opportunity to be the closing center. So those two teams are going to be the front runners, the Bucks and the Nets.
Yeah. If he ended up on the Bucks, like I might even consider starting him like over Brook Lopez in some playoff games because Brook Lopez, his defense, as good as it is, sometimes in the regular season gets exposed in the playoffs, and he can't shoot anymore.
Yeah,
It's been like 2 years of him not being able to shoot. So I think Aldridge would actually be the best option at five there. Yeah, you're right. He wouldn't start on Philly. I just think that would make the East race, that Eastern Conference Finals would be so exciting if Aldridge could, the expectations were a little bit lower. just shoot some threes, play off some really good players like Simmons and Embiid, be that sixth man. I think that'd be really fun to see. But yeah, trade, it's going to be only the Celtics. I think there was another team in there that could trade for him, but is probably not going to. Do you see the Celtics making a trade for him?
Personally, I think they're going for bigger names, such as a Vucevic, Aaron Gordon, such as that, a player that's going to be there for a little while. And one other team that was looking to trade for him is Miami. We have to mention that too. They have Andre Iguodala on a 1 year expiring. He has a 2 year contract, but the second year is a team option. They have Myers Leonard. They have Kelly Olynyk. They have the contracts to make this match.
Mm-hmm.
And LaMarcus Aldridge is also a 1 year, so it doesn't impact the future cap space. And to be frank, he's better than the three players that I named because
Yeah.
he's just way better offensively. And he's a center, and he's a center that can play nice alongside Bam. So they're also a team that could maybe get in there and get him too.
Yeah, he's basically just a way better Kelly Olynyk.
Kelly Olynyk, yeah.
So, and just like the passing and his experience and all that stuff would be kind of invaluable in that team, and he'd probably be one of the best 5 players on the floor in crunch time for that team.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So John Collins, we thought a trade was coming like 2 weeks ago. We wanted the Celtics. It hasn't happened yet. We haven't really heard anything about it. How are you feeling on the John Collins situation? Do you think he gets moved pre-deadline?
Well, I think the Wolves are just throwing off the what's it called, the trade market for John Collins. I think players like the Raptors, the who else? Players like the Raptors had a package for him, which the Hawks probably liked. But then with the Wolves having rumors that they're dying to get Collins and stuff like that, like it just like they're gonna try to like milk it out, try to get as much as
Mm-hmm.
possible. And I think with the possibility of these Magic players entering the trade pool as well, that's kind of messing up Collins' value. Because now if you want a center, instead of getting Collins, you could just go for Vucevic. If you want a power forward, instead of getting a guy that can't play any defense, you get a guy that's slightly worse on offense, but way better defender in Aaron Gordon. So I think with all these like new players entering the market, the trade space is just like a little confused right now. Like, what's the value? And if the Wolves really want him, they could get him because they have the assets to get him, but they're just trying to mitigate how much they give up. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of like a done deal. I think he will be a Wolves by the end of this trade season. I think they're just waiting to see how much they get because the Hawks have
Mm-hmm.
nothing to lose right now because they're not going to trade him for an impactful player right away. So they're like, hey, we'll get 3, 4 more games of Collins before we get rid of him.
Correct me if I'm wrong though. That the Warriors have their pick, but it's top 3 protected. Is
Yeah,
that right? So wouldn't
yeah.
it be in their interest to not get a good player like John Collins, lose more games, finish in the bottom 3 of the league, and keep their pick?
Well, the team that had the worst record last year still got the 4th pick. I think, like the lottery is
Yeah.
so unknowing. So like you just kind of get the best player possible, move on. Yeah, so they could keep D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards, have a power forward center combo of John Collins and Cat, and then they could just sign a good young small forward, and then they could just go on from there. And the players they have to move, they have Jared Culver, they have Josh Okogie, they have Beasley, who's averaging 20 points a game. They could give up any seconds. They could try to flip Rubio for a late first, a protected first. So they have enough assets to kind of pool around where they keep those 3 guys and get John Collins in.
Yeah. And this John Collins kind of leads into the Kyle Lowry rumors because it wouldn't be a straight up Kyle Lowry for John Collins trade if the Raptors did want to go after John Collins. It would probably be Lowry to either Miami or Philly, and then those assets would be on the way to the Hawks to get Collins.
Yeah.
So if it weren't the Wolves, I only see maybe the Raptors, maybe the Mavericks as like a John
Mm-hmm.
Collins destination. If we're gonna trade Kyle Lowry, if the Raptors are gonna move Lowry, Collins is the guy I want in return. I think he'd be kind of perfect. They're running the small ball lineup recently with Pascal at the 5, and I think you can just double down on that by getting John Collins. It'd be really fun to see. I think can be a better defender with a good coach like Nick Nurse than he has shown in his career.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that happens for the Raptors, but probably between the Raptors, like you said, Wolves. Do you feel like the Mavericks are a contender for him?
I think a lot of teams are contenders. They just aren't releasing reports. I think any rebuilding team, like if I was the Magic personally, I would like those assets that I'm getting from what's it called, from Aaron Gordon, and I would just put those assets to get a John Collins. Or if I have to give up Vucevic, I'll get John Collins too. Like just any of those teams that are about to hit their rebuild or a retool in the Raptors scenario. Any of those teams, John Collins is valuable. I think just being a 20-point scorer last year who shot 40% from three, and you're 6'9", like you just have the size to be a good defender, and you just have the size and shot to be a big impactful player. And the Raptors, he's going to be like what, the third, fourth scoring option. So just way less pressure on the offensive end, and I think he's a very very coveted trade asset. I just don't think I think everyone's offering like the same range of deal. So the Hawks are just waiting for one team to be like, hey,
Yep.
enough of this playing around. Let me beat all other teams and throw in an extra first or something like that.
Yeah, and he feels like a guy who could get moved to a team and then suddenly average like 24 or something, and people would be like, why wasn't every team in the league after him, right? So yeah, if I were any team that is kind of like you said retooling, I would definitely be going after John Collins.
Lowry, the teams interested in him are just championship teams. The Heat, the Clippers, the Sixers.
Sixers.
The Clippers, I don't think that's gonna happen. I think Sixers are by far the favorite, and that's because Thibault, Maxi, picks, like they could offer all of those and get him pretty convincingly. Danny Green would match the cap, and you would have a great player on your team. I think that pushes them to the Nets. Like in my opinion, this is what brings them back to the Nets. Like right now, the Nets have gone clear, but I think with Kyle Lowry, they're back there, right back in contention.
Yep.
And yeah, I think he's gone. I think the way he's talking, I'm gonna retire one day as a Raptor.
Yeah.
I am not releasing these reports, right? I think he's just trying to show that, hey, I'm not demanding a trade.
Mm-hmm.
The team is looking to trade me though. Just know it's not coming from my demand. It's not because me as Kyle Lowry is like, get me out of here. It's because the team feels it's the best move. And that's kind of the reports that are coming out. He's just trying to be like, hey, don't let this media convince that like me and the Raptors fans have a bad blood or whatever. He's trying to make it clearly evident that it's the team's choice, not his choice. And I think it's the right choice by the team too. I think if you get a guy like Porzingis or John Collins who's younger, who come in at that five spot, it does help the team out more for the future. And I think it's time to move on. We let Kyle Lowry go chase another championship, and we get another young guy who can maybe help the Fred VanVleet Siakam duel.
I mean, it's the smart move, but Kyle
Yeah,
Lowry is the greatest Raptor of all time, and I mean, he's making $30 million a year this year. That's probably like slightly more than he's actually worth, but he's he's still a borderline all-star caliber player. He's what, 34 years old. He's going to be demanding at least $20 million a year next year over like a 2 or 3 year
yeah,
deal, which I think is completely fair for him. I don't think the Raptors are in the position to be matching that kind of money. So it
paying that.
probably makes sense for both
Yeah,
sides. Move him to a contender, let him compete for another championship, uh, and then let him sign wherever he wants, play another 2 3 years, and then retire. Maybe even play his last year with the Raptors, or if it's just a 1 day. Yeah, but like you said,
just a one day.
yeah, I like Maxi. I like Thibault. I like kind of like Precious
Porzingis,
Achua. I obviously like Porzingis, but if it's Porzingis or Collins, I'm all in on that, even though it hurts. If I'm just getting those like Maxi Thibault types, that's nice. It's good for depth. I would like to see what Nick Nurse could get out of like non second round or undrafted guys. Like it's been a while since he actually worked with someone like that. So that'd
yeah,
be pretty interesting. But I would want to go for one of those bigger names.
yeah, and getting into the lottery this year might not be the worst thing, right?
Yeah.
Like you always have a chance of getting that number one pick, and if we do get a ninth seed, lose the play in, and we get the number one seed, I
Yep.
mean number one pick, like that's a huge dub on the Raptors' part, right? I think missing the playoffs this year and just having that 1% chance of getting the number one pick is more worth it than being a first round exit. Because Kate Cunningham's special. I just want 1% chance at Kate Cunningham, even if that makes us the ninth seed, right?
Yeah.
And I think losing Kyle Lowry, like I'm not penciling this team in for a playoff spot, losing Kyle Lowry anymore. So I'm down. I'm all in for it, man. Let him go win his championship with Philly, or at least try. Let us get some young guys and that maybe a number one pick. You never know. And then let's just retool next year and see what happens next year with the prospect, the pick, everything, and our guys getting one more year of experience being the main dogs, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at the last three first round picks, I believe, that the Raptors had, because they traded their pick away the last couple of seasons, or Malachi Flynn last year, but Pascal Siakam they took with like the 20 something pick. They took
Yeah.
Pirtle in that same draft. He's like kind of decent. But OG Anunoby, the
Starting.
Raptors, yeah, he's starting for the Spurs, who are in a playoff position. The Raptors hit on their picks. Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster hit on their picks. I can't even imagine what they would do with a top 10 pick. I do really want to see that happen. So, and if they do trade Kyle Lowry, that is probably going to be the scenario. It would be a nice change up, and I think even though they would be in the top 10, this team wouldn't be that far away from kind of being right back in the playoffs with a decent young player. We got Van Vliet, Siakam, all those guys. Obviously, yeah, it's sad, but I do agree with you. It's probably the right move to make as an organization.
Yeah, and someone like Norman Powell has to start. I think he's scoring 18
Yeah,
points a game,
yeah,
and he just sucks off the bench. Let's be frank. Like he's not the same player off the bench. He needs to start. He needs to get the flow of the game
yeah,
right off the bat. And
yeah.
he's a player that like you really can't start at small forward, and
No,
you can't start. You really shouldn't be starting Fred VanVleet at shooting guard. So maybe moving Kyle Lowry is just a positional need that we right now say we're not making the playoffs without him. But maybe those guys just play way better as point guard and shooting guard than as shooting guard and small forward because they're back in their natural positions and natural height. So you
I
never
mean,
know. This Raptors team, they have a lot. They have a lot going on right now.
they have a really good record without Kyle Lowry over the last 2 or 3 years. It's kind of surprising, but yeah, like you said, it allows Van Vliet to play his natural position. Like you said, Powell is not the type of guy who you can treat as a sixth man, because you don't just give him the ball, say, get me a bucket.
Yeah,
He just, he runs off screens, he gets open in the corner, makes good cuts. He doesn't dribble it out a lot, doesn't really like play make or survey the defense or anything like that. So he needs to play off other creators and scorers. That's why he plays whenever he goes in the starting lineup. He's good for 20 to 25 points. So maybe that would be,
yeah.
something that they something that would actually benefit the team. Maybe they still would make the playoffs, but yeah, we'll see. That's enough on Kyle Lowry for now. All right, let's move on to the Cavs and their bigs, because they have a couple of guys on the market. Andre Drummond, Kevin Love are in the rumors. I don't understand Kevin Love. I don't think he's going to get traded. I don't think any team is going to take on that salary with him having played 3 games this year. Just how injury prone he's been over the last 2-3 years. I just don't see that happening like at all. What about you?
Yeah, I thought it was no chance, but there's a mad rumor out here, and I think teams are asking for picks to take on Kevin Love, which the Cavs aren't gonna do. The Cavs aren't asking for picks as well. Like if you give him Tim Hardaway Jr. and James Johnson, they're gonna accept that deal. If you
Yeah,
give them anything that just matches cap with less years, they can accept that deal. They just want to shave a couple of those years off Kevin Love's contract, but they're not going to give up a pick to do it. So I don't think it's going to happen. Andre Drummond, he's on a 1 year expiring. I think a lot of teams are interested in that, like the Bulls, like the Nets, like everyone. So yeah, a bunch of teams are going to be interested in that, and I think the Bulls, Otto Porter, and maybe a second kind of gets that done. But Andre Drummond's been in rumors for a while, and nothing's happening. So I don't know what's happening, but Andre Drummond, the second he gets moved, DeMarcus Cousins is going to get signed because his contract is kind of just being weighted because teams are just like, hey, if we get Drummond, why sign Cousins? But the second he gets moved, Cousins is going to get signed as well. So that's kind of just way up in. The team I want Drummond to get moved to is the Hornets. So
mm-hmm.
hopefully that happens.
Me too.
Anywhere but the Nets. I just don't want the Nets to get, and I just don't want them to get too stacked.
Yeah,
So yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen. Kevin, we don't think it's gonna happen. JaVale
no,
McGee could go on to any of the 29 teams. So, and his contract's easy to match, 5 million. So he's gonna get traded probably for a second round pick. So yeah, that's gonna probably happen. Cedi Osman was in the rumors too. I think they're gonna keep him. I think other teams are
I'd keep
interested in
him.
Cedi Osman and Larry Nance,
Hmm.
but I don't think the Cavs are interested in trading him. So I think those guys stay. But yeah, they're a big player in this trade deadline season because they could trade a lot of players and they just have a lot of moving pieces that they kind of just move to make their young core fit better.
Yeah, like you said, the Hornets and Drummond. That would just be amazing to see. We kind of were both on the Lonzo Ball to the Hornets trade before. I don't know about that so much anymore. I think their guards
Yeah,
and their perimeter scores are so fun. Like
so good.
Lamelo,
Yeah,
Gordon Hayward, Terry Rozier, Devontae Graham. They're just so fun, and they got like the wings and PJ Washington and Bridges. If they could just have a real big man in there that Lamelo could run pick and roll with, just throw lobs to, and
yeah,
then also have the option to just like go with 5 shooters out with PJ Washington at the 5 and then Bridges at the 4. That I think that'd be really fun. I think they're in the process of probably like elevating themselves above like teams like the Raptors and teams like the I don't know some of the other teams down there. Even though I mean
yeah,
they just killed the Raptors last night, but the Raptors have no players. But yeah, if
yeah,
they could add another guy like that, just have a big body to maybe like even just have a series with a team like Philly or have a series with a team like Boston even. Um, that would just be really fun, and I really hope they can get it done. What would that take? Because Drummond has how much due to him left? It's like
28, I think.
28
So
mil.
it would be like Cody Zeller and like half their team, like Malik Monk and all those like
Yeah. Oh,
extra
Monk's been
guys on the
so good though.
bench.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I
Yeah.
think the most possible place is probably the Bulls because
Yeah.
they just have Otto Porter who just matches up perfectly and they just throw an extra second in. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's the most likely.
Yeah.
But
But I mean,
JaVale McGee's pretty big too.
yeah. Yeah.
So
That's true.
if the Hornets can even get that, I think that would be an upgrade over Cody
Yeah.
Zeller.
But if there ever were an owner to make a move like that, I think Michael Jordan would be the one. Like
Yeah,
we were all roasting that Gordon Hayward contract. I mean, it's an overpay, but he's been good. And
yeah,
having a good player on your team, no matter how much you're paying them, it's kind of always a win. So I can kind of see Michael Jordan doing that, but maybe not on the last year of a deal. I don't know.
yeah. And another team which holds a lot of keys for this trade deadline is the Orlando Magic. They have been getting absolutely destroyed because Fultz is injured, Jonathan Isaac's injured, and Evan Fournier is on a 1 year deal, so he's probably gone. Vucevic says he loves Orlando and that he's happy with the Magic, but he's an all-star that's getting
Mm-hmm.
absolutely destroyed day in,
Wait,
day out.
wait, sorry.
Yeah, so Vucevic said he was happy with the Magic, but he's an all-star that's getting destroyed year in, year out. So, I mean, day in, day out. So he's probably gone too. Aaron Gordon, Evan Fournier, those guys are also in rumors. I think Evan Fournier is the most likely to be moved. He's on a 1 year deal. Any team get him, they go get him for just 2 seconds maybe, and he's a pretty good scorer for 2 seconds. Aaron Gordon's probably what like a lot of teams want because he could just defend and fit into that forward spot. We wanted him to go to the Wolves since like what, like 2 3 years now. Like we
Yeah,
just think he fits so nice against Cat. And they have Beasley, which can maybe work something out. We just want the Magic to blow it up. We just think it's so good. Like if they get a Cade Cunningham to go with a Fultz and what's his name, Cole Anthony,
yeah,
like that's just a nice young three-headed backcourt, and then you still have Isaac to go in your power forward spot. Like
yeah,
that's a good team, and you can finally get Mo Bamba some minutes too at center.
yeah.
Like let's test this team out, man. Let's test these young guys out. Trade
It just
everyone.
has it just has to happen. Like Vucevic is playing the best you could ever ask him to play, and look what it's doing for their team. Fournier can help out a lot of teams like the Bucks, Clippers, teams like that. Um, I don't, yeah, I don't really understand why the Celtics aren't more in on Vucevic. Like the rumor is that they want Jeremy Grant.
Yeah,
Jeremy Grant's playing amazing this year. Sure, fine, sure, but
Pistons aren't getting rid of him though.
Pistons are probably not getting rid of him. But like, just imagine that Vucevic, Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown. Obviously, like we don't need to talk about that. How good of an offensive team would that be? Because Vucevic can pass it, he can shoot it. Like I don't understand why the Celtics aren't more in on that.
Yeah, and the thing is, he gives them so much spacing for Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown to be amazing. Like he's
Yeah,
such a good third player too. Like I know people have only seen him as like the first option,
yeah,
but he just has everything in his game to be a good option too. So I don't know. I wish he just ends up on the Celtics.
yeah. Like we see Vucevic get shut down time and time again in the playoffs. That's because he has no other good offensive players on his team. And like if he was the fourth best player on a team, the fourth offensive option, I don't know. I think that would be unbelievable. I think that would be amazing to see. And I don't really understand why the Celtics aren't more in on that. All right. So the Rockets are another team that look like they're going to be blown up. PJ Tucker wants out. Oladipo has turned down a contract extension. It looks like he's going to be moved. Smart move for the Rockets because they're not a good team right now with no Christian Wood. They should tank, try to get Kate Cunningham. Just makes too much sense. PJ Tucker can help out a lot of teams. What are some teams? I mean, it's the usual suspects. Like if he finds his way to the Nets somehow, that'd be amazing. Any other teams?
He fits into Denver's traded player exception. So I think watch out for Denver being a big player for him because he just fits in that like uh,
Yeah.
Paul Millsap role, kind of like he could just come in, be an extra body, and like he could just offer them so much as like a small ball center when Joker needs to take his 3 minutes, 4 minutes of rest. And I think that's just a good fit for them. That's kind of where I hope he ends up. But more than likely, he's probably going to end up. We don't even know because his contract's so easy to match. So nine
Yeah. It's
million.
so easy.
Victor Oladipo, the two big teams that are always in this contract discussions is the Dallas Mavericks, Miami Heat. We haven't heard anyone else kind of. So watch out for those two teams trading for him. I think Miami Heat is kind of a done deal. I think Kendrick Nunn goes over here,
Yeah.
get plus cap space, maybe a pick, maybe not a pick. I think that's what they're discussing right now, if the pick should be
Mm-hmm.
included or not. But I think they will agree onto something, and he will be a Miami Heat by the end of this trade deadline.
What about the Warriors? Because the Warriors apparently are like they have that Oubre contract. They could make a move if they wanted to give Steph another decent
Yeah,
offensive player beside him.
yeah, it'll be good, but then like he's on a 1 year expiring, so
Yeah.
if he signs an extension going into the trade, kind of like how Andre Iguodala did, then I
Hmm.
can see that happening. But if he doesn't, I can't see that happening.
Yeah. So it looks like I mean Dallas obviously wants him. Dallas is an option.
Yeah,
I'd love to see him on Dallas, but they might just be waiting for the free agency.
free agency. So it
Miami's
looks like
Miami has a lot of different size contracts, guys that they can afford to move on from. So Miami's the most likely destination. I would agree with you on
destination.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Harrison Barnes is also in the trade rumors. A lot of teams want him. He fits into the Celtics exception. He's actually been really good this year. He's just he's not an amazing player, but he's a good player. Can help out a lot of playoff teams. Other than Boston, who do you think he should be after him?
I think every team's after him. I just don't think he's going to get traded. I think Buddy Hield's the player that's out of
Hmm.
the Kings. They're both the same year, same age, which I think people just can't
That's
fathom
so
because,
surprising that Harrison
yeah,
Barnes feels 35 and Buddy Hield feels like 25. It's so
yeah.
weird.
At the end of the day, they're the same age, and Harrison Barnes has never said anything bad about this organization, the team, anything. And at the end of the day, the rookie, Tyrese Halliburton, is going to play the shooting guard spot
Yeah,
next to De'Aaron Fox.
he
So
has to.
I think bye bye, Buddy Hield. And I think, like, Celtics, come on, get someone, man. Like, get
Yeah,
someone.
come on.
Like, at least get a Buddy Hield. Like, this is insane. Like, Danny Ainge, like, you are on the hot seat. Like, you are one of the best drafting GMs of all time. But this is tough. Like, you have to get these guys.
Last couple of years haven't been so good for Danny Ainge, but yeah, he has to make this move. The Celtics are not that young team anymore that has no expensive players that is like trying to win the championship over the next 7 years or whatever. I mean, yeah, they have a nice young core, Jalen Brown, Jason Tatum, but if they don't add to that young core now or make a move to try to win a championship over the next couple of years, I mean, who knows
That's it.
like what's gonna
Yeah.
happen to this team? Like they don't have as much house money as a lot of people think they do. I think they need to make a move this deadline.
Yeah. You don't want to be at the team that's always like a second round or third round exit. You want to make the
Yep.
finals. You want to improve
Yep.
year in, year out. So make this team. Come on. Let's go. Let's
Yep.
go. Like, you guys got
Yep.
the chance this year. Let's see it,
Yep.
Danny Ainge.
Yep. Did we miss anybody? I mean, JJ Redick, Lonzo Ball, Bledsoe are all in the rumors. Redick would help any team. Lonzo
Yeah.
Ball, I don't I
Next,
don't really see. Knicks are
Knicks
probably yeah.
the most favorite, but we haven't
Bledsoe,
seen any like packages or rumors about them since like 2-3
no,
weeks ago when we talked about them.
yeah,
So they're just in the rumors. Porzingis, Mark Cuban keeps coming out and denying it, so there's no point in talking about it because he is the
yeah,
owner and
yeah,
he has to prove anything to go through. So that's probably not going to happen. Even though we would love to see him on the Raptors,
yeah,
he's probably going to be a Maverick for a long time of his career.
yeah. All right, I think that does it for all the rumors. Hopefully by next episode there will actually have been a trade that we can talk about and kind of break down. I mean, there was a trade. We don't have to talk about Svi Mikhailuk
For Hemek Diallo and
for Hamidou Diallo. I mean,
yeah,
the Pistons won that trade, but I mean, it's whatever.
it's so minuscule.
So minuscule, it doesn't change anything. Anyway, thank you everyone for listening to this episode. You can find us on Instagram at Stretch the Floor Podcast. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, STF Clips, where we post the best 4, 5, 6 minute clips from the podcast. But most importantly, subscribe to the podcast feed, leave a 5-star rating, leave a review. It all helps with the algorithm. But until then, we will see you guys next week when we're going to be breaking down, hopefully, a bunch of trades.